Hello, welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson. Here we are at World Headquarters, Winter Haven, Florida. And I'm excited today because we have my good friend Derek Menchan with us. And this is going to be a different episode. Normally we'll have a business owner on, but Derek is an artist. That's a good word for what you are. He's a world-class cellist.
Thank you.
And so we're going to talk. We're going to have a great conversation. And I want to see what you're up to. You got a new release coming out. And so let's talk about what your goals are with that and see how we can overlay our kind of, marketing mindset on what you're doing here.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for having me. Thanks a lot.
So let's start with the Derek Menchan story here to get us up to speed here on who we're dealing with here.
Right. Thanks, Dean, so much for that wonderful introduction. So I am a cellist, right? I was trained in New York at the Manhattan School as a concert cellist. Got my degree there in 93. Went on to do postgraduate work, some doctoral work at the University of Houston under Laszlo Varga, who was János Starker's sidekick and childhood friend, these two famous Hungarian-American cellists. And while in Houston from about around 97 to 2001 or so, sort of branched out and let the world know everything else I'd always been up to, and that's arranging, playing bass, drawing caricatures, public speaking, all of that sort of came into the open as a professional for me in roughly 98 or so. Up until that point, I traveled the road of the concert cellist doing recitals and concerti and lecture recitals, because that's such a hard thing, the aperture that allows people to fly up into success or greatness is so incredibly small that you have to keep your focus very narrow. I didn't dare tell anyone that I was also a bass player and whatnot. But anyway, so from 98 or so until now, I've sort of lived my life as Derek mentioned, as Emerson would call it, the freelance intellectual, something like that. And because now I add to the coterie of things, PhD student of philosophy and religion.
Okay.
So now I have a reason to run my yapper all the time, like I'm always found doing, or I find a platform to be able to do it. But all of these things, Dean, swim together in the creative process of my particular brand, which I call music, a deliberate malprop of the term music, to sort of show that there's a blending and a melange of different styles with this postmodern ignoring of boundaries. They just allied into each other.
Okay.
And so that's in a nutshell, Dean. I would call myself a producer now, but yeah.
I love it. So you've put out albums, and you've got your music that's been out for a while, but you're excited. I've never seen you as excited about this new project that you've got cooking.
Never been as excited.
So tell me about that, because what I want to kind of focus on, I know you kind of asked, I really want to get this out there.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite thing, to get things out there.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's talk about what that means and how we approach it, because I think this whole thing, that this intersection of art and commerce is really where there's a lot of frustration.
Absolutely.
With people, right? Because artists, I've had Ryan Joyce, who I don't think you've met.
I haven't met him yet.
He's a country artist, live locally here.
Right on.
And we had a great conversation on this podcast about that. Right. And sometimes, artists get into a situation where they think that the art it's almost like that commerce taints the art in some way, or that there's something about that. But I want to look at that whole, explore that with you and see where you're at. What would be a win for you?
Right on.
If you look at it.
That's a lot, Dean. And let's look at that, right? I am certainly the caricature of the artist. I mean, I remember someone once saying to me that my creative mind, back then it was the left brain versus the right. My right brain was the size of a planet, and the left brain was the size of a walnut or something like that. And I don't agree. I have chosen to water and fertilize one side of my mind, sometimes at the expense of the other. I would almost say even monetize a part of my mind. As a professor, I hate to put this out there, but why worry about having a clean office when I want to use all of my brain space in creating?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody and everybody can have a clean office.
Mm-hmm.
A few people can do what I've been granted the gift to do. I choose to focus on that.
Right on.
Doesn't mean I can't clean up.
Right.
It means that like Emerson says, and I can't remember the quote, but he says, when my genius calls me, I'm going to get up from the dinner table. And he's a little rude. He says, I'm going to put aside family. I wouldn't do that, but I put aside everyone, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to put above the lintel of my door, whim. I hope it lasted as not whim, but I'm not going to spend all the day in explanation. And what he's saying is, if I come out with the cure to cancer, you guys are going to come to me like I'm the great guy. And I may come out with that, and I may not, but if I don't disappear behind that door, I'll never come up with it. So I'm definitely the artist.
I heard a good friend talked about that one of his favorite things is chasing whims.
Yeah, man.
And you have to have that freedom that requires space around you to be able to do that.
I always say that you have to create enough space to be able to fail in.
Yeah.
Create enough, because you have to be kind to yourself. You have to go for it. And if you're careful, nothing's going to happen. At the same time, and I've wrestled with the idea that I've often said that if I could be a good businessman, that would mean I'm not equally a good artist. It's not really fair to say, because I have many friends who wouldn't have survived COVID if they weren't the COVID onslaught, and their careers, better said, wouldn't have survived if they didn't know how to write for grants and write for these appeals and whatnot, and also practice the saxophone or the voice or the cello in order to get their funding, right?
But there's a lot fewer artists than there are people who are good at the business part.
Yes.
Even Elvis had the Colonel.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And I think, I hear all the time, well, an artist, I call some of my artist friends sometimes, and they never pick up the phone. They're behind this cloud of whatever and whatever else. And I've talked to their emissaries, like, well, you understand they're artists. I'm like, I'm an artist too, but I pick up the phone every time it rings. It's like an artist, by definition, is one that creates art, not one that's necessarily weird and all that. That's the trappings that you may or may not have afterwards, right? So success is tough. I've had to, in direct response to what you're asking, I've had to train myself that success for me against late capital, over and to the other side of what late capital would say is success for me is getting an idea in my mind and being able to present it to the public. I purposely don't allow myself to save money, because if I concentrate on that, I'll never get the craft, honed. I'll never get it done. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it takes money to make things go around, doesn't it?
Well, you look at the atmosphere where we are right now, and the music business has certainly changed.
Yeah, sure.
The history of what we're talking about here, where there was really very few outlets for music.
Right.
I mean, you'd be on the radio.
That's right.
In order to be on the radio, you had to have a record. And in order to get a record,
you had to have payola.
The 6 guys that make all the decisions about music had to decide that this Derek Menchan's worth investing in, right?
What a time to live in.
And now there's no block between you and getting directly to the audience.
That's true.
You start to see it now that you look at, they started out, Lil Nas X certainly made a lot of inroads, became the longest running #1 song on the Billboard charts in the history of the Billboard chart.
Right on.
Before he even had a deal, And you look at right now, just last week, the #1 most streamed song on Apple Music was by this Canadian independent rap artist, Tom McDonald.
Oh, wow.
Has the #1 song on things. It's just him. He makes all the music, does everything right there.
Right on.
And so there's nobody standing in your way of getting in front of people now, right? True.
You still have to have a buzz. You still have to, I wouldn't say that it's only 50% or less, but talent you have to have. But there's so many talented people. You have to have.
Well, you don't even have to have talent necessarily. There are people who I would say create music that resonates with people that don't have necessarily what you would call traditional
I understand
talent.
what you mean.
They have what somebody is looking for right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's you have music. Music tends to flow in trends. Consumed music, more popular music tends to move in trends. All music actually moves in trends and eras. Yeah. And you said it, it has to have it. It has to have the zeitgeist,
Yeah.
the sign of the times,
Yeah.
right? The spirit of the times that someone can catch on to and say, yeah, that's it. That's tough for the artist. Either you have that or you don't, or you can have a team that helps you achieve it. And then the next step, of course, is to try to make that buzz around yourself, to have an engine to propel it from yourself toward,
Reach.
reach.
We've been talking about this idea of what I've coined this phrase, the VCR formula. It stands for vision plus capabilities multiplied by reach.
Vision.
That's the thing, right? That's the formula that made Kylie Jenner a billionaire. It's what got Lil Nas X to the top of the Billboard charts. Same with Tom McDonald.
Yeah.
So you've got to have, there's a lot of people who they've got vision, they've got music, they've got the music in them, but they don't have the capability to get the music out of their head into a form that could be multiplied by reach. So what you got the vision, you hear it in your head, you hear all the stuff. I've been to your studio, amazing setup that you've got for creating, in a creative environment, beautiful view of the lake, the custom floor, everything, all the equipment. You got all the capability to do it. You can create something, but even then, you recognize that you just told me you spent 27 hours in the studio, in a professional studio.
Yes,
and
indeed.
he was paying money to go and do that, to create this work that you've got now. And now it needs to be multiplied by reach. And by reach, I mean, it just needs to get in front of people.
It does. And a funny thing I'd add in this particular case, I've always tended to be a little bit more cerebral and a little bit more remote in my works than the average bear, because I don't know, I don't model myself after Charles Ives, a great American iconoclast, but I find a lot of my stuff to be like his, because he was able to write music not being aware of the trends. There's a reason. He was an independently rich guy, so he didn't have to live off his music. I'm a professor, so I also don't have to live off my composition. So I have a freedom to go in and write and produce, more arranged than write, but also write whatever I want. But in this particular case with the tune I'm just birthed recently, it's incredibly cerebral. It's actually the most Lynchian, as in David Lynch, thing I've ever done. And I didn't even know it wasn't intended to be this way. As I mentioned to you before, I sort of started doing this stuff, and without knowing it, I just ran into this other realm, this other dimension, and kept creating. And only did I know that I was in it when I came out and finished, put the coda on the tune, coda, Latin for tail, of course, right? And then I said, where have I been? What happened? And I wasn't upset about it. It's wonderful. There were actually, Dean, some ideas that came to me that for people who believe in the muses and things come from on high, I'm sure it came from myself, but it doesn't feel like it. It certainly felt that something cosmic came
just
to
a
me.
vessel.
Yeah, well, absolutely, right? And for the first time ever, the reason I'm so crazy excited is because this is the biggest, strangest amount of data I've been able to just get whoa, Nelly, and turn into one, I don't know, streamline, but one work, and control it from beginning to end, if I controlled it at all. And it's very exciting for me. So I say that to say, there's this thing about creating hits versus the Zappa, the Tom Waits. Guys are the more, artists that have niche following, because they didn't crank out nuggets like, say, your Jay-Z's or anyone like that, or even the Stones or the Beatles that cranked out thoughtful works, we've come to find. But at the time, they were more like more popular things. And I've always thought about this, bifurcation or vacillation between the genius of being able to crank out a hit that's memorable, listenable, and has some substance, as opposed to the more strange, very personal, intimate creations. And I do know, as I was talking with you, Kevin Palmer and Tame Impala, they managed to capture all of it. The tune, The Less I Know, The Better, is perfect. It's ingenious, it's cerebral, it captures a vibe, and it's wonderfully catchy and amazing music. Yeah, so there is a way to do it. I'm still working out which guy I am,
And I always love to start that way, by looking at, like you talk about the guy you are. What is it that you want for this? Like, what's the outcome that would be a win for you when you look at, in relation to this project, and then the bigger arc of your trajectory you're on, where you want to go with this? What would be, do you have a vision
for
what you want?
It's a great question. That's changed over time. But first, when I came up with the record label in 2006, I was working with a certain artist then and started what eventually became my first album, Griot Swings to Classics. I was wanting to be signed because that's what it was then. And even when I lived in Houston, I was working with the team and got with some heavy cats from the industry then, and I was going to have a package put together. Signing isn't necessarily what's happening now,
Right.
as you were saying. So my vision now is simply that success thing, to be able to come up with the idea, put it out there such that there is a repository, right, or a library of my works. I now have the belief that they will live healthy and be far beyond me and my body. They'll be discovered and seen for what they are. Whether my name ever attains, fame or is ever seen in lights is nothing I can control. That's nothing I chase.
Well, you can.
Well, I could, but I do have total confidence, unwavering confidence that my music will be seen for what I'm creating it to be now. And I don't think it's not great. I do think it's great. I think it tends to go beyond people because many of them are looking for it. They don't want to do the work for these different types of works like mine to figure out what is he getting at. Dean, there's all sorts of inside jokes coming from all sorts of places. I do them musically. I do them intervallically. I remember in a tune I did on my first album, I had the bells playing intervals they never could have played, which is only a joke to a musician who'd catch it. And there's I quote tunes that shouldn't be quoted at the same time. The second album is full of more of those. The album's twice as big. And now it becomes quadrupled, even quintupled. And I mean, there's so many references. This tune is meta. It references itself. It references the form. It's a self-acknowledging, self-aware work. And there's an audience for that. But you got to target it. How in the world would you do that?
Well, there's an audience for everything, right?
Yes.
That's part of the thing. And the good news about art is that art is not sold, it's discovered. And that's really the big thing. You don't have to convince somebody. You can't convince somebody.
You can't.
It's just you either it resonates or it doesn't. And
True.
it hits or it doesn't.
It's true.
And so the people remember, from like a hit song, I believe there are sort of melodic formulas that we are helpless against. And it's interesting. I don't know anything about music per se. I enjoy it and I kind of love to think about it.
Sure.
But the song that Tom McDonald just replaced as the top streaming one was that Unholy. Have you heard, the song?
Seems like I have. I'm not sure.
There's some chords in that, some chord progressions in that seem almost primal, or they're speaking to reverberate with your, so it's it's in a minor kind of tune. And, I think it's been what captures people. You've got this desire for more of that. You want to hear that again, kind of thing, right? That's where an earworm, you hear those things, right? So it gets in your head, and now it's rattling around, and you kind of crave it.
Can't get rid of it.
That's what a hit song is, right? That you crave this, this thing. So I look at this now, knowing that's happening. It's nothing that you can do to convince people to listen to music or to be repeat a fan of music kind of thing, or to buy it. That's where getting into places where they can discover it really is what the whole game is about.
Right on.
Getting it out there
in
places. And that's where things like what's like the fast track right now is, if we look at how music is being discovered and how we're building fans with that. Let's go all the way back to, I think that, 2000, 2001, when American Idol started, was kind of the first opportunity of proactively building an artist into something. So if you remember, did you watch American Idol back then? So Kelly Clarkson, the first one to win. Everybody watched it. There were 30 million people watching American Idol. But the brilliance of that, I read Simon Cowell's book, and the brilliance of, when you think about what they actually did, was that Simon had the realization that it's not about, it's definitely that popular artists sell more things that when we give a leeway, if we like the artist, if you're a fan of the person, that you revere the music. And so you think about something that if somebody is like, I love Sting. I'm a Sting fan.
Me too.
And that he's got such an amazing trajectory from punk to, folk songs.
Philosophical stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I was listening to something the other day that he put out, and, his stuff that he's gone off to now is very like, English folk songs and things like that, which I don't enjoy it. It doesn't resonate with me, right? And I think that, but everybody's like, it's all critically acclaimed and everybody loves it because it's
Sting.
He's
proven.
But I'm thinking that if somebody new was coming out with this song right now,
they'd say forget it.
Exactly. But we revere Sting and we go on that journey with him. So it's about attaching people to you as artists, that they're on the journey with you, right? And that's something. So American Idol, what Simon discovered was one of his first big breaks was there was a show, I think it's called EastEnders or something in the UK, that was very popular on television. Mm-hmm. During Christmas, these two guys sang this song on the show, Christmas song on the show. And it was really well done. They could sing and do the stuff. Not amazing, but it was great.
Sure.
And that everybody was calling up the radio stations to play that song.
Interesting.
And Simon realized that it hasn't been released. So he went and signed them, recorded it, released the song, the record, and it became a big hit.
Well, that's amazing.
Right? But what he realized then was what made that a hit was they had an audience. They had an audience
already had it built in.
that they are going to buy because of these guys. They were exposed to it because they watched the show.
Sure.
Music is a great thing to accompany where attention is, right? But what American Idol, what he did then he started signing people with audiences. He did a Teletubbies album, and he did a WE wrestling album, that he did all these things that people already had a built-in audience for it, right?
Yeah.
So then he realized, what if we let people in? Simon Fuller put this idea together. What if we let people in on the process of building an artist?
Wow.
And American Idol was born, that they would do auditions, find the people who've got the talent, and then week after week, they would progress, and you would vote, and your favorites would keep going.
Right, exactly.
And then by the time the end, if you voted for Kelly, millions, 15 million, half the people at least voted for Kelly.
Right.
That now, when they come out with her original song, at the end of it, she's going to have a built-in audience and then ride that into, let's see where she becomes. And you're going to feel invested in Kelly's success because you voted for her all the way along. You picked her from the audition.
That's brilliant.
She's great. I'm voting for her.
Yeah.
She's my favorite. She's the one. And that validates your your success, right? As a thing. So I'm a bit of an American Idol prognosticator myself.
Oh, okay.
I can listen and pick the winners.
All right.
And I feel invested in that. But then along came The Voice, which is a very different thing. And the reason that there's been no, comparatively, breakout artists from The Voice like there has been on American Idol.
Right.
I mean, you look at Kelly Clarkson, you look at Jennifer Hudson, you look at Daughtry, you look at there's so many that come out of that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's because of that approach that the audience feels like they helped create it.
Sure.
The focus on The Voice is on the coaches. More people know that
true.
Blake has won the competition more times than Adam Levine.
That's true.
And John Legend has won.
Yeah.
That's what the focus is, that it's not so much that you as the listener get the glory for having propelled them to that success. Yeah. You're just observing Blake's brilliance in this, and you
Yeah.
don't feel invested
No.
in buying the music that comes out of it.
Wow. The audience really wants to be brought in, don't they, Dean?
They do.
They want to be included. They want to be they want to feel included, you know? That's a very brilliant point.
So you get 1,000 true fans like
Yeah.
that, you know, that's a great book concept. But so I look at that now, that was on network television,
Yeah.
right? So it built this huge audience.
Yeah.
But now, you know, they don't get 10 million viewers. Now the audience is gone from network television.
Yes.
Everything is on Spotify and
Correct.
SoundCloud and
Right.
wherever music is available.
Right.
And we discover music through where our attention is, which right
That's
now
correct.
is TikTok and
It is.
YouTube and
Instagram and things
Yeah.
like this.
and you think about another example of how music gets out there is even before American Idol, getting your music on a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at
Sync
those
placement,
bands
yeah.
like Good Charlotte, and you look at those in the 90s, the
Right.
kind of punky kind of bands that
Yeah.
were on like GTA and all these things. When in the music that's playing when you're picking your
Yeah.
character and doing
Exactly.
your stuff, those songs are in there and they've got such a huge audience right there that
true.
they're like, oh, who's that? Oh, that's Good Charlotte.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
so that you're getting in front of people at the right time. So there's still an element of being selected in that.
Of course there is.
But how do you bring people into, in a modern way now, your sphere, into your audience?
So one thing that I do is I'm a guy who makes arrangements, funky, sometimes avant-garde
Yeah.
arrangements of pre-existing music.
Yes.
So it's, you know, any tune that's done can be licensed. You get a license for it. And I release it on multiple platforms. Google, Shazam, Spotify, Amazon, you know, YouTube. Sometimes I do YouTube. I don't do it so much anymore because, well, I just don't. But I put it almost everywhere else. Now that I've got some videos out, now that this latest has a video, those will, of course, be available on YouTube, right? The music itself is available on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And just, you know, get it in front of as many audiences and potential audiences of yours as you can so the accessibility is not a problem. That's what I do. And, you know, it's my album, I never released my stuff in time to get considered for Grammys, but both of them, as my first album as an unknown, went to the top 2 in Amazon's gospel and what is R&B album. But they're twice within a year and a half.
That's great.
Second album did the same thing. But again, as a relative unknown producer, it shot to the top like that. So I've got some following. I've got a buzz going. Now there's more of a padding of an audience waiting to see what I'm going to drop. So that's fun.
So this is, you know, I look at this, I'm an observer of playbooks. So I think the American Idol playbook was great. That was something not difficult to repeat. But one of my favorite stories, as we're progressing now, is, I mean, I love what Tom McDonald and I love what Lil Nas X, those are the kind of the out there things. But to some extent, all of these current artists are really taking advantage of that reach, being out there through TikTok, through YouTube, social media. But Boyce Avenue is one of my favorite, and I think repeatable playbooks, that they are one of the top acts on YouTube. And they, you know, I remember seeing the thing last I checked, and this was a few years ago, that they were, you know, generating $5 million on YouTube alone from their YouTube channel. And what they did, this started out years ago, is they would do stripped down acoustic or lightly, you know, electric, but just like in an acoustic environment. And they would, in an environment just like this, like very low key, it would just be lit, and it would be him on a stool with a guitar, and he would break down popular songs into a new version of it right at the peak of their popularity.
Oh, wow. Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
he would take like where you're getting into the algorithm then, right, of YouTube, where if everybody's searching for the hit song, what put them on my radar, there was a song by One Direction called You Don't Know You're Beautiful. And that was a real poppy, like, fast moving hit song.
Right.
And they stripped it down to him with just the electric guitar, and him doing it in a really soulful, kind of slowed down way. And it was beautiful. I mean, he's got such an amazing tone to his voice, and you like him. And that where we get, so if I were looking at their success, it's been on picking songs that are at the peak of their popularity.
Right on.
And then when we just get to the point that, okay, I think I've heard that enough now, right? But you still love it.
Sure.
And then you hear something that's familiar but novel.
Yeah.
Now that's the magic.
It is.
Catch, right?
Familiar
You get
but novel.
that with a little bit of novelty. And you're like hooked again.
Exactly.
So now you watch this. And now Boyce Avenue is on your radar. And you go to their channel and you see, look at all these other songs that they've got like this. And then they can sneak in their original materials.
Brilliant again.
Nobody's looking for new music.
Not really.
We're not
really.
When you get in the car, that's exhibit A. When you get in the car and it's just the radio, you're not punching around looking for something new. You're looking for your jam. You're looking for, you're going, and then when you find something that, that's my jam.
Yeah.
And you're in now, right?
I wonder, Dean, if that's a product of, how do I even say, there's so much available now that you get desensitized to the pure amount
that's exactly
of
right.
data that comes at you. So it's easier to be wistful and go back to yesteryear, pull up your jams from a decade or even 2 decades ago for some of us. I'd never thought about that.
And that's where things like Pandora have done a brilliant job of,
there too,
if you like this, if you like plaintive wailing over acoustic guitar, you might like this.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing where you discover new music like that. Right?
Yes.
And or Apple has been notorious for plucking out songs out of obscurity and putting them in an iTunes commercial.
Yes.
And putting it on TV. Oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Siri. I don't really mean to wake you from your slumber.
Oh, she's working. Well, she's working on her slumber.
Put it down.
Yeah. Go ahead and go back to sleep.
Anymore.
Don't work on it. Just get there.
Something went wrong. Let's try again.
Well, she's still trying.
Okay, I'm just going to cancel that.
Right.
But so I think using that playbook, if I were an artist right now, if I had the capability, but I've got that playbook that I think that's still a viable path. That if you take the most popular songs, like you take that Unholy song, for instance, and it would totally fit for you doing a cello version, unstripped or stripped down.
Stripped down,
They're doing it because those chords are so haunting in a way, right?
Sure.
We were something, I think, tribal or primal about those chords. And I'll play it for you later. It's
Please.
the thing. But I think that, and you've done some amazing things on your TikTok, some of those multi-channel, like
those cheesy little videos.
but they're so much fun, right?
I think so, yes.
You're taking hit songs and you're doing the a cappella or the different tracks,
and
the
then
6 windows of you.
Yeah, sometimes I've gotten really, it's funny, when I got started, and this was just before the COVID thing, I was doing things like opera paraphrases with 9. I was doing Brandenburg, Bach and Chert, like things that people wouldn't think of.
Right.
The Goldberg variations, and then popular tunes. And they would just come to my head. I get up and arrange them. And then I took a few requests, and I could do them within an hour.
Yeah.
Really fun. But I got better, so I started challenging myself. I said, well, Derek, it seems like you can arrange anything. I gave myself a series of tests. I'm like, and I said, hey, Derek, go do Quincy Jones' Soul Bossa. And I did it in half a day. Yeah. I hadn't done, things like Girl from Ipanema before, and I started, working out those harmonies, which are a little bit different. So I found that I'm a polyglot. I'm able to speak any musical language. So I can become any other person, but have that stamp of Derek Menchan, that wonky fever dream effect. You know what I mean?
And I think that you look at those things, and I don't know anything about music, but you look at the things that you can get into taking, especially because hit songs are hit songs for a reason. because that means they're resonating with people in a way that fits right in that groove of what they're into, right? And things that go that are so if you take the foundation of those and strip them down with some novelty, it's a really interesting thing. And I think that mixing them with harmonies is probably more conducive than mixing the syncopation or doing things where
it's with the harmony.
where you're riding along on this is the thing, but now you're adding on something that's a different harmony that's surprising.
Yes,
but it's not jarring as you're not in the same rhythm as the song, or you're not in the same.
If you can catch a listener, right, and have them, as you said, trust you, then by the middle of the tune or the second, third of the tune, you can start experimenting a little bit.
Maybe in the bridge, you go somewhere crazy.
Certainly,
right?
I do that in this tune, but you can do that. But they tell you that the first, I don't know how many seconds, very small number of seconds, 7 to 10 seconds of a tune dictates whether it's going to work or not. Like if they can't catch you right then, you can't. And Dean, this is a tune in which I didn't think about that. I generally don't think about it anyway because the person I'm recreating has already done that. So I never think about it. I almost always figure out a different introduction to their tune that they did themselves. In this particular tune, I threw that formula out the window, but that's because of a particular approach I'm using. And I have an extended opening, and then the tune doesn't come in until about a minute and a half in. And that's challenging. And I looked at it, I was like, wouldn't undo it. I would not do it any other way. But for those who are looking for a hit, this isn't going to catch them. But this is something completely different. And it's also something which, I will say, there's an historical precedent for what I did. I haven't heard of anyone else doing it. That doesn't mean it hasn't been done. It might have been done and it failed. It might have been done, nobody cared. But there was one famous incident that did what I'm doing here. And but it's very, like I say, it's sort of a cerebral, subtle thing. I don't announce it. It can be discovered. So I'm interested to see how it's going to be consumed.
It's an interesting thing that part of the other opportunity is in pairing up with people, pairing up with other complementary artists in a way, like attaching some visual element to it. I think about deadmau5 did a song, The Veldt, years ago, but it was based on a children's story that he read. And somebody did this beautiful imagery, like this beautiful animation imagery to go along with it. And then he put out the song on SoundCloud, and somebody sent him vocals go along with it. There's actually a YouTube video of him hearing for the first time the guy who did the vocals on his thing. And he was just like he was so excited about it that we're recording. This is going to be the thing. So it takes on, these these intersections that what artistic, if you think about David Lynch, you talk about just philosophically or way the people who, that audience is probably, if we draw a Venn diagram of all of the stuff, that there's some intersection, there's some overlap of people who would appreciate.
I think so.
Glad
you pointed that out. I never, as much as I emulate David Lynch, having custom floors in my house to look like the Red Room from Twin Peaks. I'd always said my work is influenced by him, but this is the first work where I can say I've achieved something like the visual escapes through my music. And for the first time, I would not separate the music here from the video that I had created for it, or that actually directed it. If a person wants to, they can listen to it on their own. But being a synesthete, I think in images and colors. I think in shapes and dimensions. And there's certain images that parts of these tunes bring up. And so I would never separate, for the partaking of it, the video from the music. They're one and the same. It's a gestalt sort of thing. You know what I mean?
There you go.
They got to go together.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But I think it's getting that in front of the people. There's probably a whole David Lynch community.
There are several. There are many on Facebook. They're huge.
That's what I mean. If it took off on there, that'd be the thing about getting those. But going forward, the big thing is going to be about building that.
Yes.
The Derek Menchan audience.
Right on.
Right, and just by being adjacent to all these other things.
Right on.
But what do you think of that playbook in terms of, I could see like the Derek Menchan Top of the Pops Sunday thing where if you took the number one song that week and you rearranged it with that thing, that if it became like, a context of something familiar with something there, and then maybe if a song that you did last week is still number one, maybe you can introduce one of your songs in that week or whatever, right? That it's like right now on your news feed, the attention that you have, when we look at Facebook, every third or fourth, let's see what the algorithm is at today. Okay, so there's a sponsored one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Every fourth scroll, fourth thing in my inbox or my stream is an ad. Right. And think about bringing in that original stuff, that if every fourth one that you did, if you did Derek Menchan's Top of the Pops or whatever thing, because you do them in half a day or whatever you said, and you get joy out of doing it.
Absolutely.
To do that stripped down rearrangement, that now you're you're on top of what is, where is attention right now? Musical attention is at the top of the charts. It's what the people are, what are the most downloaded streamed things right now. When people are searching that, those keywords are in you. People are finding that. Right. You've got a context that is repeating, like you're hanging your hat on something is
it's already proven.
The Sunday night music. How do you say your
music? It also can be music.
The Sunday night, the Monday night music show. That's the thing. Maybe on Mondays,
I like it.
That you've got a repeatable context, right? That gathers this audience, that they're on this ride, that they know, okay, every Monday Derek's going to have a new arrangement.
And then they would, I think the brilliance in it is that what we talked about before, they'd learn to trust me because they know the quality's there. Yeah. They know that I'm not trying to steal the thunder from the person that originally did it. I'm just making commentary on it with my own sort of feel, and then they'll be more apt to listen to an original. I think that's money. Yeah. That's some sort of form like that to try.
Because building that audience, right? That's really the thing.
Yeah, and you and I talked earlier too, and on Instagram and thus in other places, TikTok as well, there's this wonderful blending of very parsed down animations and with sound that happen very quickly. What amazes me is the humor is so intense. American humor is a little crass, a little harsh, a little slapstick. But when you broaden your vision and go to more European humor, Asian humor, it becomes layered, it becomes more subtle, it becomes more cerebral. And of course, English humor with Monty Python, a lot of America is very dry. It's like, that's the whole point of British humor, British dress and all that. So because the youth that make these are driving the change in what's in vogue, you're finding out what the humor essence is at the time. It's changing. You can almost see it's like the oogenesis of a cell. It's regenerating all the time. We used to do memes that just still. Now they're moving things that are, the humor is so strange, and you're in and out of it in like 12 seconds. And I'm sitting there going, it was absolutely brilliant. And they're psychologically very adroit. And I can't remember, there's one that shows a reframing, an animation of something that actually happened on a Latin American football station, and they had this totally abstract animation to what the person says, and they had 4 different versions, and they were so detailed, and it's very bizarre. We're talking Tom Waits, David Lynch bizarre, and the animation was very sparse, and a lot of people wouldn't have even noticed. This is phenomenal. Absolutely. So I'm like, who's responsible for these animations? They're just little like Al Hirschfeld, very sparse. And they're great. They're wonderful. They're capturing Steve Harvey. They've remade him into this weird thing with this giant mustache. He's neither black nor white, which speaks to the belief amongst the youth that post-race. Yes. There's a lot going on. Right. And I'm like, I'd love to be a part of this. Yeah. And of course, there are ways to do it. You reach out to someone on Fiverr or offer up and say, hey, can you give me, and it can start that way. Yeah. I've had somebody already suggest that to me. Yeah. I have visual creations, I do not have the time, right? Do everything. It's enough for me to come up with the music.
I can imagine that context if there's a whole, an opportunity for pairing up with someone who is a visual artist like that there's part of that animations. The Simpsons started out on the Tracy Ullman show. It was just little interstitials.
I didn't even know that.
Little interstitials on the Tracy Ullman show.
Is that right?
And that built it into
the whole freestanding thing. Wow, I didn't know that.
And that's kind of when you start to think about what could you do to do that. But I think it's just having a context for stuff goes a long way. That when you pick a thing like, to build an audience, I've been doing this More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast for years, right? Hundreds of episodes, but we've built a global audience on the back of, we started doing the I Love Marketing podcast. So from I Love Marketing to More Cheese Less Whiskers, to all of that, we've built that audience now that know contextually what we're talking about,
Wow.
And so we can go and have a conversation about marketing in music.
Right on.
It's universal. It's the same thing. We're talking about the before unit.
Yes.
We would call it.
Yes.
Of selecting a target market.
Yeah.
People who like, probably David Lynch might be those people.
Yeah.
How do we compel those people to raise their hand?
Yeah.
And then educate and motivate,
Yeah.
and then make offers. When you come out with your new releases, everybody's going to be all on board. You've got a vehicle that every time somebody's listening to your cooked up version of what's the most popular thing in the zeitgeist right now.
Yes.
That
will be hot.
I think so. I mean, I look at that as a thing, that's where the attention is.
Sure.
And you're just kind of riding along. You're setting up these little tributaries.
Yes.
As people are going down this river of people listening to Unholy and searching that up right now, that all of a sudden here comes this little tributary off of that.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to get out in the desert, you're trying to get people to, hey, come on over here. It's
so daunting.
Way
it's so daunting. Yeah.
Of where attention is.
Yeah. Did you know, by the way, totally in agreement with that, but did you know that David Lynch during the pandemic started a YouTube channel where he made these little microfilms that were just as bizarre as anything else, showing that he just has infinite ideas. He'd do his own voiceover. I'd probably loop the music. And then he had another one where I think he'd do the rollerball or something. He goes, and today's number is, another one he just reads, because David Lynch has such a recognizable voice that he goes, and today's weather is sunny, it's balmy out, and it's 72 degrees. Have a great day. And people were tuning in by the thousands to hear that.
Right.
But I'm thinking of what you're saying about how did he get there? How did David get there? And interestingly, I was in New York 6 weeks ago, and I stopped by the Pace Gallery. They had an exhibit of David Lynch's painting. Being a visual artist, I've seen his stuff before. I'm like, okay, I'm not really that. These were very good. And they stand on their own. You can tell David's I won't say elder, he's an older gentleman. By the time we unfortunately no longer have them, stand on their own. They already look like something to be beheld. I bought a book. There was an exhibit of something called, I can't remember what it was called, Unified Field. Can't believe I remember it in Philadelphia maybe 6 years ago. Didn't make that one. But he started as this film student that did little strange paintings. I think there's one called 5 Guys Getting Sick or something. And it was modern. Anyway, it was an animation of dudes vomiting on a fence, it's Dave Lynch. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Then he does Eraserhead, which everyone was like, oh, I get it. And there was this these different cliques of people that thought I watched it and I have no idea what's going on. And then he did other things that are great. And then he hasn't done a movie since, the Inland Empire, which was the one film that made me go out and buy a camera. So I need to do film. I just looked, I was like, I need to get my hands dirty in creating the scape. And I say all that to say, number one, I followed him. I trust him. Like we've talked, I trust Jordan Peele. I sit back. I trust Lars von Trier. It's going to take you someplace you don't want to go psychologically. But I trust these artists enough to, when I feel something, it was deliberate. He wanted me to feel it. When Lynch does, nothing's unintentional with Lynch. So I followed his trajectory and look at his amazing success. A guy that they give him total control from beginning to even out to distribution. Then I look at the fact again that I've done my first work where I can say, this is really, truly Lynchian. As a matter of fact, I found his address, and he has a way to get in touch with him. I doubt that he would ever respond, but as they say, he never will if you don't reach out to him. I have a letter already written.
Well, listen, you look at just what happened recently that with Fleetwood Mac on TikTok, somebody had that song.
It was a tribute to the girl who just died, right?
No, this was before.
Oh, okay.
This was Stevie Nicks' song, but it was this just girl on TikTok that sang her version of the song, and it was beautiful and well done. And then that became, they took that and just did a vision of him skateboarding.
Oh wow!
To that track, that what do they call it? That sound or whatever on TikTok, and it just went so viral. But the sales of that music went way up because it was that Kate Bush. Look at, she's being discovered like something brand new.
Yes, that's true, isn't it?
Now running up that hill,
right?
Because it's taking over on the attention of the people who are listening to music right now. You can't fight it. You got to tap into it.
No, absolutely.
And I think the path to tapping into it is making a sound like what they're getting their attention right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And in my particular case, I can say, because I think it's going to air after the tune is out, I reached, number one, I remember when the pandemic hit, I did a version of Oye Como Va, and Tito Puente Jr. saw it and shared it and reached out to me, and consequently, he's going to be a guest artist on my third album.
Yeah, see, there's putting it out there is like, putting it out there. That's how Lil Nas X got the attention of Billy Ray Cyrus. He put out the song, got on the Billboard country charts without Billy Ray. And they said, no, wait a minute, this isn't country. And so I saw a meme with wait a minute, you got too much dip on your chip there. But they took it off, and he tweeted out, somebody get me Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
Because what's more country than Billy Ray Cyrus?
Nothing I could think of.
So he loved it, did the song, and the rest is history.
The rest is history.
And number one song ever.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun.
Always, Dean. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What are we going to do because of this here? I mean, first of all, I'm going to play now your new video so that people can get in your world there. We'll tee them up, and then they can go to your where do we go to?
After you see it, you could go to YouTube, just type in my name. My OVR is out. My second album in total is there. Summertime that I did about 3 summers ago is there, my video for that. And this is very much the child of Summertime, but it's new. Okay. It's fresh, it's hot, it's strange. And you can check me out, Derek Menchan, DerekMenchan at Instagram. I think it's the same on Facebook. But YouTube is where to go see my videos.
There we go.
And Blue Clock Records is my YouTube channel.
We'll get in the world there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek.
Very exciting. I can't wait.
It was beautiful. Thank
All
you,
right,
man.
Thanks, Derek.